isn't it?
It's slightly different with tips for the SNS. Slightly different.
Is that?
Yeah,
okay.
application.
Okay.
So that's why it's important to do with the tips, really, if you're going to do tips. Yeah. Right, okay, so I've got a 180 grit file here.
Yep.
And I'm just going to prep that file with another file to get rid of all these sharp edges. So obviously I'm going to be, because you've done this course before, be telling you things just for the purpose of the camera. So you just take off the sharp edge, because the last thing we want to do is to cut our client's skin. Okay. You don't want to be cut, do you? There we go, that's now safe. And to get the dust out of the file, we're just going to tap it like this, get dust out of the file. We've got our 100-180 grit block, and these blocks are the best ones to get when you're doing the SNS as well, rather than a 240 grit block, because they're just slightly rougher on the surface, right? These edges are also sharp, so just be careful of those as well. So you can twist it like this sometimes, and it just softens up the edge a little bit. And we've got a dusting brush here, when we're doing the tips. Right, so the first thing we've got to do is to sanitize our clients. So we've got some sanitizer here. Ooh. Switch over. Twist this way.
You can't with that one, it's meant.
Oh yeah, no, I meant this one.
Oh, okay. Trying to get bent. Bet you did.
Oh, bless. Okay. Then I'm just going to make sure I spray my file as well. And mine. Okay, so we're going to use plenty of this by the look of it, aren't we? And the other thing we need, of course, is our side. Okay. We've got that as well. Okay. So, you know how to remove nail polish. That, so we don't need to go through all that. So obviously we can look at the nails after we remove the nail polish, just to check there are no contraindications. That's anything that's going to stop us doing the service. And the usual thing we have is here, when in doubt, drop out. So if you don't like what you see, you don't do it, right? Or get a second opinion off someone if you're in a salon. And never diagnose, of course, on your clients. And also you just need to be familiar with the contraindications, which you've done all before. Yeah, okay? Right, so once we've prepped our file and we're happy to go ahead, what we need to do now is just file the nails down to accept a tip. And we want to take them down just so they're a bit like that one there. You can see that one's a little bit on the long side. So what I'm going to do is use the smooth side of my file, and I'm going to file this way. Can I see that? Oh, yes, that's on there. That way, and then I'm going to file that way. So I'm just filing towards the centre, and as you can see I'm using the length of the file rather than not this sort of thing. Okay, using the length of the file, I'm going to go this way and I'm going to go that way. And I'm going to leave a little bit of free edge showing. Yeah, a little bit of free edge. Okay, and I'm just going to take off these raggy bits from underneath. And obviously we don't saw on the end of the nail. Okay, so once we've shortened the nails down and left a little bit of free edge, next thing to do is to do our cuticle work. So we get our cuticle pusher, make sure it's completely dry, and then I'm just going to hold it right down at the base like this so we don't slip. If we hold it further back we could slip. So right at the base, and I'm just going to push back the cuticle like so. Now sometimes you get excess cuticle here. We haven't got it in this instance because these are quite nice, these cuticles are.
Did you use cuticles at home? No.
They're quite nice though, aren't they?
Yeah, I do a lot
so
of
you can, do you? So you can just pull it forwards to see if there is any cuticle that's loose. Once you've loosened it off the nail plate, you can pull it forwards to see if there's any overlap of cuticle. So if there was, then we'd get our cuticle nippers Make sure you dry them again very carefully. And of course, now they've been loosened on the cuticles have been loosened off the nail plate, and you can clip them away. You see, I'm getting a little bit away there. Can you see? It's a little bit I just took away there. Okay. Don't overclip your cuticles because they can be a bit tight otherwise. Now, once we've done that, and you've been along all your nails and done that, the next situation then is to actually prepare the surface. Now, skin grows on the nail plate at the back here, it grows at the sides, and your nails are also porous. They're going to absorb liquids from washing your hands, and they're going to absorb grease from touching your fingers like this, or leaning on your face, or whatever, messing with your hair, all sorts of things. So in the surface we're going to get, inside the surface we're going to get liquids, and we're going to get grease. And on the surface we're going to get skin that's growing on the nail plate. Now this skin that grows on the nail plate can be invisible to the naked eye, so we've got to kind of assume that it's there. Okay? So, we've got our electric file, here it is here, and on the electric file is a fine sanding band. We've got the mandrel here. So we're going to place that into there, and then I'm going to get a new sanding band. We use one per client, and we're going to paste this onto the end of here. Ooh, it's quite tough, that is. There we go, onto the end of there. Now, one thing we're not going to do is use the electric file at this sort of speed, okay? It's got to be at a very slow speed. Okay, that's the slowest speed you can get it without it stopping when you touch the nail plate with it. So it's very important to run it at a slow speed. So what I'm going to do is get my nail electric file. I'm going to hold it with the back slightly up, and I'm going to go in little short bursts around the back here. Just like that. Then I'm going to twist the finger slightly, pull the skin away at the side, and then follow the line round like this. And then I'm going to grab the finger from the top and just twist your arm around that way a little bit, and then pull the skin away here so I can go up this side. Now, the weight of this electric file is quite heavy, so there's enough weight here on the nail plate. I don't need to press onto the nail plate. Okay? Now the grain of the nail is running down the nail like this. So I want to work as much as possible with the grain of the nail. So you could say, why don't I just go like this? Well, the reason is that I might catch the skin at the back here. Right? I would never go across like this because that's going against the grain of the nail. So what we need to do is put it at a slightly 45-degree angle like this, and then I'm just going to go in little circles like this and pull it towards me. So I'm pulling it towards me like this. And I'm just looking for any shiny areas that are still not being done. So once I've achieved that, I don't want to keep going back over the same area. That is that done. Okay? So I'm just going to switch that back off for a moment. Just going to dust it, and there's our nail prep done for whether we're doing the SNS overlays or whether we're doing the tips. Right. So I'm going to dehydrate this nail plate now. What I use is acetone. So I'll get my acetone here, and I'll just get some onto my pad. And then I'll just wipe over the surface of the nail to remove any grease, dust, and as this evaporates away, it will just pull moisture out of the nail. You can see it almost happening there, can't you? Right, so next I'm going to get my tips. Here's my box of tips. I'm using Edge Active tips here.
They don't really get stick when you put them on. Cut them down.
Yeah. People often ask, why are tips so long? when you cut most of it off.
Yeah.
And the reason is because you've got something to hold.
Yeah.
See, I've got some brush on glue here. I'm going to look at the nail, look in the box, look at the nail, look in the box, and I'm going to dive in and grab a tip. Now it's all trial and error, of course. Right, so the finger bends here. So what I don't want to do is to not have that supported so the finger's just bending away like that. So I'm going to grab it either side and lock it and push up from underneath so the finger stays more or less level. I'm going to slide down like this until I catch the little ridge that's inside of there. That ridge has got to go up against the edge of this nail so that we don't get stuff going underneath between the nail tip and the thing. And then I'm just going to roll forward like this and stick the tip on. So I'm going to just check it either side to see is it overlapping over the edges like this or is it short. Of course I could then maybe choose a different tip. I just want to make sure that the tip when it's on sort of matches the width of this finger. If this finger was a wider finger I'd have to use a wider tip. Otherwise it would look a bit like a claw. So now I can see that it just needs a little bit of tailoring. Posh that, isn't it, tailoring?
It is for people from Liverpool.
Yeah. You alright? You alright there?
I am at the moment.
Oh my god! That's really good. I don't speak Liverpool actually.
Sounds like Silver Black.
Sounds like Abby Clancy actually.
Yeah.
Married to.
The big footballer.
Yeah.
People keep saying I sound like that man who does the. He used to be Lily Savage. What's his name?
Yes.
O'Grady.
Paul O'Grady. People say I actually sound like him sometimes.
But he's got more of a.
You have your Liverpool accent.
It's
It's
not
very
strong.
vague.
Yeah, no, I can put it on there.
Oh yeah, I think we will.
Do you think if you were to go back to Liverpool it would be...
Oh my God! If you go back or meet somebody from Liverpool in a few minutes, it's there, isn't it? Right. So I'm just going to roll it forward like that, and I can see now it's a lovely fit on the nail. Right. So I'm going to get my glue and give it a shake because I don't know how much is in here. So the brush gets some nice glue on it. And then I'm just going to pull the glue out of here without wiping it on the side, and then I'm just going to scrape this down to get a nice bead of glue into that well, and then spread it round, making sure it gets right up to the edges, or the wings as I call them. Right, so now I'm going to lock my finger, I'm going to come down, find the edge, roll forward and stop. Now once I get to a certain point I must stop, otherwise, in other words, don't keep lifting it upwards, because otherwise I'll have an air bubble trapped inside underneath there. I'm also keeping my elbow touching the side of my body as well, and that is so that I get this nail tip on as straight as possible. I can give it a little tug now, there we are, no air trapped underneath. Okay, very important. Any excess glue I can just wipe onto the nail plate. I just want to check that these two little wings are in fact stuck down nice and secure, and of course they are at the moment. If I see any area in these corners that looks like this, it just meant that the glue didn't get all the way round. Okay, so you can just get yourself some glue and you can wipe it on the side this time, tip the finger down and put a blob onto the natural nail and it will run underneath, and then you'll be able to hold it down. If you do hold it down with your own nails, don't stick to your customer, otherwise you'll be going home with them. Okay, so there's our tip stuck on. So once we get all our tips on, the next thing to do is to actually cut the tip down to length. So we get our cutters here, and we want it so that the blade is facing me. Okay, I'm going to raise the hand off the table and I'm going to put this inside here. Now I've got two choices here. I can either hold it from the front and clip it off, or I can just click through and then move my thumb round to catch it so it doesn't spring at my customer. Right, so I'm going to say, how long would you like your nail?
I don't want them very long.
Not very long,
No.
okay. What shape do we think?
Oval.
Oval.
Like one of those.
Yeah, something that matches the
What you've got?
Because I haven't got tiny fingers.
Okay, so I'm just going to cut it about here. Now I know this may be too long, but what you've always got to remember, you can always cut more off, but you can't put it back on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to clip here, and then I'm going to catch it, so it doesn't fly at my customer. So I'm just going to now what you can see has happened here is that the client's own nail is distorted the tip, and it's making the ends come out wider here. Can you see that?
Mm.
See, it flares out a little bit.
Yeah.
So what we need to do is just get rid of that by filing in at the sides.
So an oval shape will be quite nice anyway, wouldn't it? Is that
Yeah.
kind of shape you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Okay. Just filing in the sides. Then I'm going to hold it, just relax a little bit. And now I'm going to go across the edges like this. And we would just be taking it down to length now. If you found you left it too long, you could always cut a bit more off. Just make sure there's no bits underneath there for a minute. Okay. So now I'm just going to go into the edges here. And I'm just going to bring it in slightly. So just do a bit each side until you eventually get to the shape that you want to be at. Oh, is that the sort of shape you're going for? Is it like that?
Yeah.
Sort of?
Yeah, but shorter.
Yes, yeah, but that's
Yeah.
basically the
Yeah.
shape. Okay. Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave you to shorten it, okay?
Okay.
But I'm just doing it to that point there. So I've left it long so you can just decide what length you want it. Now obviously what we don't want is any flat edges on it, so it looks like a 50p piece or a new pound coin, which is quite interesting. Or if you are older, you can remember a threepenny bit.
Yeah. I went round the shops, my auntie gave me a threepenny bit.
Did you? Oh, that's nice, isn't it? I've still got one at home because I collected all the old money, you know, just to see what it was like, and got an old penny and a halfpenny and a threepenny bit, a half crown, and all those sort of coins, and some old pound notes as well. Okay, so now we've got a line here where the tip was joining the nail plate, and we need to blend in that line. Now, with SNS you do need to blend it in, because it's obviously a thin layer of powder, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on. I'm going to put it up to about number 3 now, and I'm going to, so it's a little bit faster now. So what I'm going to do is put this at 45 degrees to the nail plate again, because I don't want to file across like this, and I don't want to come down like that. I want to just be able to use the end of the electric file and pull it towards me like this, just working on the plastic area of the nail, and I'm keeping it very flat so I don't damage the nail plate, the natural nail. Again, I don't need to press on, and I want to keep it nice and flat so that I get a graduation of the blend. In other words, it starts off thinner here, then it gradually gets thicker. Please. You see the wheel go by here? I'm going to twist the finger over and then just come into this edge here. Now you can see I'm using very, very short strokes, little tiny strokes. And that's because this is sandpaper, this is plastic. If I leave it too long on the nail plate, it will build up friction, and that will cause a heat spike. So now you can see it's pretty much blended now, isn't it? So I'm now just going to take off the shine off the rest of the tip. I'll switch this off, put it back into its holder. And I can see when I was doing that, I could see it just need a little bit of refinement there. Now it's pretty much blended now, so what I'm going to do is get the smooth side of my file and just flick over, making sure that the file leaves the nail plate on every stroke, so I'm not going like this. Okay. I'm going to come down these sides here, here, up there. Then I'm just going to get my block and just flick over the top, like this. Make sure there's no bits underneath. And there we have a blend. Okay? You like that? Looks like your own nail, doesn't it?
Just slightly rougher.
Yeah, so with the SNS you do need to get quite a good blend.
Okay.
Okay, because the thin layer of powder, you know, it's going to go on, you don't want any bumps or whatever on there. So basically that's what I want you to do now. You've done all that before when you did your course last time, and you've been doing it since, haven't you?
Yeah. Well, once.
Once!
Yeah, with the acrylic nails. I've done more jello glaze, but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright then, so at any point, when you are you okay with electric filing?
Yes, I'm okay with that.
Yes, so I'm going to take it right down again to a slow speed so we don't forget.
That's the same as my sister's file, I've been using it a lot.
The UP200?
Yeah.
It is the best file.
Yeah.
It
I've
is
done
the
a
best.
lot of prepping nails with that. I've done my own, I've done my sister's, my sister-in-law's.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
It's fabulous,
Yeah.
isn't it? You know, really makes the job really efficient and nice. It's just that it's so dangerous when used incorrectly. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we use it safely here, so.